So apparently, through the use of LiDAR, they have discovered that there are enormous structures underneath the Great Pyramid that go kilometers.
Beneath the timeless sands of Egypt, where the pyramids have stood for millennia as monuments to human ambition and mystery, a new chapter is quietly emerging, one that may challenge everything we thought we knew.
New discovery is shedding light on a mystery that dates back millennia, many millennia.
Thanks to cutting-edge radar imaging, researchers have exposed under-pyramid megastructures.
Italian and Scottish researchers, mainly from the University of Pisa, conducted advanced high-frequency radar mapping under Egypt's famous pyramid.
Archaeologists are stunned by this terrifying discovery. These vast, uniform structures were hidden beneath the very foundations of these ancient marvels for all these years. Their symmetry and scale are too precise to dismiss as mere geological quirks, sparking a wave of speculation. What could they be? Well, this is one story you wouldn't want to miss. Traditional understanding of the Giza pyramids. For centuries, the traditional understanding of the Giza pyramids, particularly the Great Pyramid, has told us that these colossal structures served as grand funerary monuments to Egypt's ancient pharaohs. This perspective is rooted in the broader context of Old Kingdom mortuary practices, where elaborate tombs, including mastabas and later pyramids, were constructed to ensure the eternal life of the deceased in the afterworld. The Great Pyramid of Giza, built during the 4th dynasty around 2560 BCE under Pharaoh Khufu, also known by his Hellenized name Cheops, was widely believed to be his final resting place. This view was bolstered by Herodotus, the 5th century BCE Greek historian, who wrote about Khufu's reign and the construction of the pyramid, although many of his details were derived from oral traditions long after the pyramid was built. Supporting the tomb theory were discoveries in other pyramids, such as that of Djoser in Saqqara and Sneferu's bent and red pyramids in Dashur, where burial chambers, funerary equipment, and even sarcophagi have been uncovered. Moreover, around the Giza complex, archaeologists have found mortuary temples, causeways, boat pits containing disassembled solar barges, and workers' villages. But are these pyramids only grand tombs? As technology has advanced, so too has the scrutiny of these long-held beliefs. Non-invasive techniques like muon tomography and 3D cosmic ray scans, particularly those conducted by the Scan Pyramids project since 2015, have started to reveal anomalies within the internal structure of the Great Pyramid. These include voids and chambers previously undetected, most notably the Big Void above the Grand Gallery, which spans at least 30 meters and whose function remains entirely speculative. Despite its traditional attribution as Khufu's tomb, the interior of the Great Pyramid presents striking absences. There are no decorative inscriptions, no elaborate funerary items, and most notably no mummified remains. The so-called King's Chamber contains only a large, lidless granite sarcophagus that lacks any hieroglyphic inscription or royal cartouche. This is very unusual, considering the richly adorned tombs of later New Kingdom pharaohs in the Valley of the Kings. This has led researchers and independent scholars alike to question whether the Great Pyramid's primary function was funerary at all. While quarry marks discovered in hidden spaces above the King's Chamber, including references to Khufu, have been used to support the tomb theory, some argue that these may have been placed there later or misinterpreted. The lack of definitive burial evidence has fueled alternative theories, including the possibility of the pyramids being ceremonial centers, astronomical observatories, or repositories of ancient knowledge. Although no consensus has been reached, it is increasingly clear that the Great Pyramid, far from being just an extravagant tomb, may hold layers of purpose. So, what has brought us to these hypotheses? Advanced imaging reveals subterranean features. The advent of cutting-edge imaging technologies has dramatically shifted the investigative landscape surrounding the Giza Plateau, revealing a hidden world beneath its iconic pyramids that challenges centuries of conventional understanding. Ground-penetrating radar, or GPR, electrical resistivity tomography, or ERT, and muon detection scanning have now been applied with unprecedented precision to Egypt's ancient heartland. Since 2015, projects like Scan Pyramids, a collaboration between Cairo University and the HEPE Institute in France, have unearthed not only previously unknown voids within the pyramids themselves, but also remarkable subterranean anomalies stretching deep below the surface. These findings include vertical shafts, symmetrical corridors, and complex geometrical voids, some of which appear to form cylindrical or tunnel-like structures that, according to preliminary models, may extend hundreds of meters downward and span up to 2 kilometers in lateral reach beneath the Giza Plateau. Although these features remain unexcavated due to Egypt's strict preservation policies and logistical challenges, their recurring patterns and uniform formations strongly suggest artificial origin and intelligent design. These discoveries are not mere footnotes to established Egyptological doctrine. They demand a re-evaluation of the engineering prowess and intentions of those who built these monuments. Traditionally, the archaeological focus has centered on the internal structure of the Great Pyramid, with visitors and scholars alike restricted to exploring the known architectural features: the King's Chamber, the Queen's Chamber, the Grand Gallery, and the rough-hewn subterranean chamber carved into the bedrock. This narrative emphasized a linear, tomb-centric construction aligned with the spiritual beliefs of the Old Kingdom. However, the newly uncovered features hint at a far more elaborate blueprint, one that might encompass multi-level labyrinthine networks or vast underground storage and ceremonial areas, potentially older than the pyramid structures themselves. If these subsurface formations prove to be man-made, it could suggest that the visible pyramids were built atop pre-existing complexes, implying a multi-phase construction timeline that predates Khufu's reign and perhaps reaches into Egypt's mythical pre-dynastic past. Moreover, the scale and symmetry of these underground anomalies reflect a level of engineering that seems incompatible with the tools and methods traditionally attributed to 4th dynasty builders. As imaging grows more refined and interdisciplinary research expands, the mystery deepens, raising the possibility that Egypt's most studied monuments may in fact be mere surface markers atop a much older and more complex civilization. So, what could we have missed? Alternative theories on pyramid function. While the mainstream Egyptological view has long regarded the Great Pyramid of Giza as a funerary monument for Pharaoh Khufu, a growing body of evidence has increasingly challenged this interpretation. Unlike most royal tombs from the Old Kingdom, the Great Pyramid lacks essential elements that would affirm it as a final resting place for a king. No hieroglyphic texts, no inscriptions invoking the gods or praising the pharaoh, and no remains or funerary goods have ever been conclusively recovered from its primary chambers. The stark austerity of the King's Chamber, which houses only an undecorated granite sarcophagus, starkly contrasts with the richly ornamented tombs of later periods. This absence is not easily explained away by tomb robbers, as critics point out that even heavily looted tombs typically retain inscriptions or art commemorating the deceased. In the case of the Great Pyramid, there is simply nothing, only the architectural shell of a purpose that remains unknown. The pyramid's anomalous physical features fuel further debate. Constructed from an estimated 2.3 million limestone blocks, some weighing as much as 80 tons, the structure integrates both limestone and granite, materials with distinct electromagnetic properties. Granite, especially that's sourced from Aswan and used in the inner chambers, is rich in quartz and is piezoelectric, meaning it generates an electric charge under mechanical stress. Some researchers have proposed that this deliberate selection of materials may not be coincidental but functional, possibly linked to energy generation, sound resonance, or other unknown technological purposes. Studies have shown that certain frequencies resonate naturally within the Grand Gallery and King's Chamber, and experiments in acoustics have revealed standing wave patterns that suggest the pyramid was tuned, much like a resonator, at specific frequencies. This acoustical behavior has prompted some theorists to explore the idea that the pyramid could have served as a vibrational or energetic device, perhaps tapping into subterranean geoelectrical currents. Moreover, the pyramid's alignment with the cardinal directions is astonishingly precise. The Great Pyramid is aligned to true north within 1/15th of a degree, better than many modern buildings constructed with GPS technology. Its base is almost perfectly level, varying by only a few centimeters, and the difference in length between the longest and shortest sides of the base is less than 21 centimeters over a span of 230 meters. Such precision implies a mastery of geodetic knowledge, advanced surveying instruments, and potentially an awareness of Earth's axial rotation. These were remarkable feats for an archaic civilization. Moreover, internal shafts leading from the king's and queen's chambers point toward significant celestial bodies as they appeared around 2500 BCE, including Orion's Belt and Sirius, adding a layer of possible astronomical or ritual significance. While conventional scholars argue that these elements may be symbolic or incidental byproducts of religious belief and architectural ambition, others insist that the Great Pyramid was never meant as a tomb at all. Instead, it may have been a multifunctional complex, part astronomical observatory, part energy conduit, and part archival vault of sacred or scientific knowledge. These interpretations have gained traction from the conspicuous lack of funerary evidence and the pyramid's enduring enigmas. Even the internal layout, with its offset chambers, sloped corridors, and inaccessible shafts, resists easy explanation. If Khufu did commission it, then it may have been to co-opt an already existing structure, or perhaps the pyramid's function served a state or priesthood agenda far beyond personal burial. The truth remains elusive, and while some Egyptologists contend that Khufu's name scrawled in red paint within the hidden crawl space of the upper relieving chambers confirms his ownership, skeptics note the lack of consensus on its authenticity and the strange fact that no such inscriptions appear anywhere else in the pyramid. As new data from thermal imaging, muon scanning, and subsurface radar continues to emerge, the case for an alternative function for the Great Pyramid only grows stronger. The list of evidence has only grown recently. Discoveries at Tombos and burial hierarchies. Recent excavations at the archaeological site of Tombos in northern Sudan have brought forth a series of discoveries that challenge long-held assumptions about pyramid burial traditions in the Nile Valley. Tombos, situated near the third cataract of the Nile and once part of the ancient kingdom of Nubia, flourished especially during the New Kingdom period when Egypt controlled the region around 1500 to 1070 BCE. Among the most striking findings at the site are small, modestly built mud brick pyramids that served as burial markers not for kings or elite officials, but for individuals who, according to osteological analysis, lived physically strenuous lives. The remains recovered indicate signs of intense labor, including skeletal stress markers consistent with agricultural or manual work. These findings significantly disrupt the long-standing belief that pyramids were reserved exclusively for pharaohs and royal elites. Instead, many argue that the symbolic use of pyramid-shaped tombs may have been adopted by broader segments of society, especially in regional contexts removed from the Egyptian core. Moreover, these modest pyramids at Tombos exhibit local adaptations of Egyptian funerary customs, suggesting that the use of pyramid structures had cultural and religious resonance beyond royal propaganda or displays of pharaonic power. Their presence in Nubia implies that the pyramid form, once thought to be a signature of centralized Egyptian authority and divine kingship, had become democratized over time and used by local elites or even commoners to express status, spiritual beliefs, or cultural identity. The burials were often accompanied by items such as pottery, amulets, and remnants of wooden coffins. Yet the overall simplicity of the tombs and the absence of monumental inscriptions or gold-laden goods highlight the economic and social distinctions between these individuals and the royal class. Nonetheless, the very decision to employ pyramidal architecture for non-royal burials reveals a more nuanced, stratification of ancient Nile societies, and a broader, more symbolic interpretation of the pyramid form itself. In light of these discoveries, the singular association of the Great Pyramid of Giza with Pharaoh Khufu warrants renewed scrutiny. While there is no question that Khufu's reign during Egypt's 4th dynasty, around 2589 to 2566 BCE, marked a high point in pyramid construction, the idea that such structures were exclusively designed to serve as grand royal tombs is increasingly complicated by archaeological evidence elsewhere. The monumental scale and engineering complexity of the Great Pyramid still set it apart from anything at Tombos, but the Sudanese site underscores the fluidity of burial traditions and the symbolic reach of the pyramid beyond dynastic Egypt. It suggests that we should reconsider the rigid interpretive frameworks that have long governed our understanding of funerary architecture. If pyramid burial was not strictly confined to royalty, then the function of the Great Pyramid may not have been solely or even primarily that of a tomb. Instead, it may have served multiple roles: ground-penetrating technology and non-invasive scanning. To minimize the risk of damaging ancient structures and to preserve their fragile integrity, modern archaeologists and physicists have turned to non-invasive scanning technologies to probe the internal and subterranean features of the Giza pyramids. Among the most groundbreaking of these methods is muon radiography, a technique that uses naturally occurring cosmic ray particles, known as muons, to detect voids and anomalies within dense structures. The Scan Pyramids project applied muon detection to the Great Pyramid of Giza, Khufu's pyramid, and made headlines in 2017 when it announced the discovery of a large, previously unknown cavity measuring at least 30 meters in length above the Grand Gallery. This big void has no known function and no apparent access point, igniting debates about whether it was an intentional structural feature, an unfinished chamber, or a symbolic or functional component of the pyramid's internal design. Despite the cautious language of the researchers, the void's sheer scale and secrecy have intensified speculation. Beyond muon imaging, other advanced tools have further complicated the traditional understanding of the site. Radar Doppler tomography, a high-resolution geophysical method, has produced intriguing data from the Giza Plateau. These radar scans have mapped out unusual substructures beneath the pyramids, such as vertical shafts, large rectilinear spaces, and what appear to be spiraling corridors or ramps carved deep into the bedrock. While some of these features are still being verified through cross-referencing with thermal and gravitational imaging, initial models suggest that certain vertical wells descend dozens, if not hundreds, of meters beneath the surface. Some researchers claim these subterranean paths form part of a sprawling network that may interlink the Great Pyramid with the pyramids of Khafra and Menkaure, the two other major pyramids on the plateau. The idea of an integrated underground infrastructure suggests a far greater level of planning and technological sophistication than previously imagined, possibly indicating forgotten engineering principles or the legacy of an earlier, unrecognized phase of pyramid building knowledge. The significance of these discoveries extends far beyond the novelty of new chambers. They directly challenge the long-held assumption that the pyramids are thoroughly understood monuments. In truth, only a fraction of the Great Pyramid's volume has been physically explored, and much of its foundation and lower layers remain hidden beneath layers of stone and sediment. Excavation alone, hampered by conservation ethics and logistical constraints, cannot reveal what lies deep within or below the stone masses of the pyramids. But with muon tomography, thermal mapping, and radar ground-penetrating imaging, researchers are now able to see through layers of limestone and granite, offering an unprecedented glimpse into the architectural genius of ancient builders. Importantly, these findings align with a growing academic shift toward viewing Egyptian civilization not as a static culture with fixed religious practices, but as a dynamic society capable of layering spiritual, scientific, and social meanings into its monuments. In this context, the pyramids might have served multiple purposes simultaneously, as tombs, observatories, initiation centers, or symbolic reconstructions of cosmic principles. Whatever the case, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The pyramids of Giza are far from fully understood. So, what about those megastructures? What do we know so far? Subterranean megastructures. Beneath Giza, emerging reports based on radar tomography and secondary scans have revealed that there may be as many as 8 vertical shafts beneath the Giza pyramids, descending to staggering depths of several hundred meters. These shafts are described as being arranged in 2 precise rows, which some have taken as evidence of deliberate design rather than random geological features. Their symmetrical configuration has fueled suggestions that they may have served specific structural, ritualistic, or energetic functions. Even more provocative are claims that at the base of these shafts lie massive cubic structures, each measuring up to 80 meters in width. These enormous, block-like formations defy traditional explanations, as no known tomb or chamber in ancient Egypt comes close to matching such scale and geometry beneath the surface. These are among the largest underground ancient man-made cavities. Equally astonishing are reports describing spiral ramps or walkways connecting the shafts and cubic formations, which indicates a level of subterranean planning and execution not seen in any Egyptian context. While ancient sites such as the Osirian at Abydos or the Serapeum at Saqqara showcase deep-cut chambers and remarkable stonework, nothing in the currently catalogued corpus of Egyptian burial architecture includes descending spiral passageways or linked vertical wells of this magnitude. For comparison, even the most sophisticated tombs in the Valley of the Kings, a site developed during the New Kingdom around 1500 BCE, rarely exceed depths of 100 meters, and most are dug horizontally into cliff faces rather than vertically. The notion that such immense and deep vertical shafts could exist at Giza, constructed roughly 1,000 years before the Valley tombs, presents a stark contradiction to our timeline of architectural and engineering evolution in ancient Egypt. If these structures are authentic and were crafted during or before the reign of Pharaoh Khufu, then they imply access to tools, planning methodologies, and manpower coordination well beyond the scope of what is typically taught about that era. This raises the question, were these shafts and chambers the work of the same civilization responsible for the pyramid exteriors, or do they represent a far older substrate of knowledge and construction? Such findings inevitably invite speculation about lost technologies, or even pre-dynastic origins of the Giza complex, ideas often dismissed by mainstream academia, but increasingly gaining traction as non-invasive scans continue to defy expectations. The scale, precision, and configuration of these reported underground structures cannot easily be reconciled with known Egyptian funerary practices or architectural limitations. Instead, they suggest either the survival of forgotten engineering knowledge or the inheritance of structures whose original purpose and makers have long since vanished from recorded history. Interpretations of subterranean findings. The most widely accepted explanation within mainstream archaeology suggests that the apparent underground cavities and passageways are simply natural caverns or voids that were later repurposed by ancient Egyptians for various practical functions, such as storage, ritual purposes, or perhaps even early attempts at sacred burial practices. According to this view, these formations were not intentionally engineered by the civilization, but rather were adapted to meet the needs of the time, with rituals or ceremonial activities taking place within these naturally occurring spaces. However, this explanation does little to address the sheer scale, complexity, and precision suggested by the newer radar and scanning data. One of the more provocative hypotheses proposes that these subterranean features are remnants of a pre-flood advanced civilization which existed long before the rise of dynastic Egypt. According to this interpretation, these advanced peoples were responsible for creating enormous subterranean networks, and the Giza Plateau could be the last vestige of their lost technology and knowledge. This theory aligns with ideas found in various esoteric traditions, including references to the Halls of Amenti and the Emerald Tablets. Both of these texts, which have intrigued alternative historians and mystics for centuries, describe hidden or forgotten realms beneath the earth, where advanced knowledge is supposedly stored or guarded by mysterious beings. Proponents of these theories argue that the subterranean structures might be the remnants of such a system. Additionally, some theories connect the enigmatic features beneath Giza to the myth of Atlantis, and the idea that survivors from this mythical civilization could have migrated to Egypt, carrying with them the knowledge of lost technologies. These Atlantean survivors, according to proponents of this hypothesis, might have built the underground chambers as both a sanctuary and a library of esoteric wisdom, with the Giza pyramids serving as a symbolic or functional focal point for preserving the knowledge of the ancient world. Traditional Egyptologists, however, continue to argue that the absence of direct evidence for such advanced civilizations or lost technologies makes these theories speculative at best. However, even among skeptics, there is an increasing acknowledgement of the difficulty in outright dismissing the findings that have been reported. The sheer scale and unusual nature of the structures revealed by radar scans cannot be easily reconciled with conventional explanations, and many archaeologists are now advocating for a more open-minded approach. There is also a theory that suggests that the Great Pyramid of Giza was designed as an ancient energy device. Central to this idea is the belief that the pyramid served as an advanced form of energy transmission, much like Nikola Tesla's vision of wireless global energy distribution. Tesla, a pioneer in electrical engineering, famously proposed the idea of transmitting electrical energy wirelessly across vast distances through the Earth's electromagnetic fields. His experiments, including the construction of the Wardenclyffe Tower, were intended to demonstrate this capability, but the project never fully materialized. Those who support the theory of the Great Pyramid as an energy device draw striking parallels between Tesla's designs and the pyramid's structure. The pyramid's core consists of limestone and granite, both of which are thought to have specific properties that could contribute to energy generation and transmission. Granite, particularly the quartz-rich variety used in the Great Pyramid, is known to exhibit piezoelectric properties. This means that it can generate an electrical charge when subjected to mechanical stress, a characteristic that could theoretically be harnessed in a device designed to store or transmit energy. In contrast, limestone, the material that comprises the majority of the pyramid's structure, is believed to act as an insulator, potentially enabling the regulation of energy flow within the pyramid's chambers. The positioning of the pyramid itself adds further intrigue to this hypothesis. The Great Pyramid is precisely aligned with the cardinal directions, an alignment that many suggest was not simply for ceremonial or astronomical purposes, but could have been key in optimizing energy flow. Additionally, the so-called air shafts found within the pyramid, which traditionally have been interpreted as ventilation channels, are often cited in this theory as resonant frequency conduits. These shafts, which direct outward towards specific celestial bodies, might have been tuned to specific frequencies that could enhance the pyramid's ability to interact with the Earth's electromagnetic fields. These frequencies could have played a crucial role in the transmission of energy, with some researchers even speculating that the pyramid could have functioned as a massive transmitter, similar to how Tesla envisioned his Wardenclyffe Tower. One of the more speculative elements of this theory involves the pyramid's missing capstone, which is believed by some to have been a gold-plated object, possibly functioning as a conductor or amplifier of energy. This capstone, combined with the pyramid's geometry, would have created a system capable of transmitting energy. Some proponents of the theory also point to the existence of obelisks, both in Egypt and across the world, as potential receivers of this transmitted energy. These obelisks, with their pointed tops, may have been designed to catch and funnel the energy transmitted from the pyramids, forming part of an interconnected network of energy transmission. Further supporting the theory is the idea of a massive event that disrupted the pyramid's energy system. The damage found in the king's chamber, specifically to the granite sarcophagus, is sometimes interpreted as evidence of a catastrophic failure within the pyramid's energy-generating system. This event, which some speculate was linked to the collapse of the system, might explain why the pyramid's function as a power plant was lost to history. Despite the lack of direct evidence for a generator-like device within the pyramid, the theory continues to intrigue due to its explanation of the pyramid's numerous unusual features. However, the theory is not without its critics. Mainstream scholars point out that the absence of a clear generator or any definitive physical evidence for such an energy system within the pyramid remains a significant challenge to the hypothesis. Despite these objections, the idea that the Great Pyramid was an energy device persists in popular culture due to its ability to connect a wide range of otherwise mysterious features into a single, cohesive explanation. But wait. Further discoveries and their impact. It has also been suggested that the King's Chamber may function as a Helmholtz resonator, designed to amplify specific sound frequencies. The chamber's unique proportions, along with the positioning of granite beams, raise the possibility that ancient builders deliberately tuned the structure to interact with acoustic vibrations. Modern audio tests have revealed that certain stones within the pyramid emit distinct tonal resonances, though debate persists over whether these were intentionally engineered or are coincidental. The absence of traditional funerary elements, like murals or grave goods, only deepens the mystery and encourages rethinking the pyramid's original function. Instead of a tomb, it may have served as a sophisticated device incorporating acoustics, material science, and energy principles that challenge our current understanding of ancient Egyptian capabilities. There is also a growing interest in the geology of the Giza Plateau. This has drawn attention to the possibility of vast subterranean water systems lying beneath the pyramids and the Sphinx. Ancient accounts and traditional lore have long hinted at the existence of hidden wells, tunnels, and chambers beneath these iconic structures, and while mainstream archaeology has often dismissed such claims, recent advancements in scanning technologies like ground-penetrating radar and muon imaging have provided data suggesting large underground voids and potential aquifers. These findings have reignited speculation that water may have played a more integral role in the pyramid complex than previously thought, perhaps not only as a resource, but as a component of a more complex, energetic or functional system. Building on this, some theorists propose that the interaction between underground water flow and the pyramid's precise geometry could have been intentionally engineered to generate or amplify energy. Spiral wells and deep shafts are thought to act as conduits, channeling water in a manner that, when combined with the quartz-rich materials of the pyramid, might have produced electromagnetic effects. These ideas suggest the pyramid functioned as part of a broader, possibly even technological system, one that tapped into atmospheric electricity, geological resonance, and water dynamics to harness natural energy. While mainstream scholars maintain that the pyramid was a royal tomb, alternative interpretations argue that its sophistication, coupled with its acoustic and geological context, points to a far more complex and possibly advanced purpose rooted in a forgotten science. Though definitive proof of these alternative theories remains elusive, public fascination with the idea that the Great Pyramid served a more complex function than a mere tomb continues to grow. Many researchers and enthusiasts are hopeful that future scanning technologies, excavations, or even serendipitous discoveries will provide the breakthrough confirmations needed to validate these theories. The question at the core of these ongoing investigations remains whether the Great Pyramid was truly just a tomb, or if it was, in fact, part of a much larger, more sophisticated network of energy systems and ancient knowledge. For now, we can't say for sure, but maybe one day in the future, and hopefully soon, we'll know the whole truth. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.